a ship on my shoulder. Whenever attempting to moving, I stay uncollapsed in the corner.
If everyone could please take your seats, we are about ready to begin the program. Thank you. Chicago Cubs baseball is on the air from beautiful and historic Wrigley Field in Chicago. It's the Chicago Cubs against, wait a minute, there's no ball game today. But this is a very special and very historic day at the friendly confines. Finally, we are honored to have you with us. We are able to celebrate this treasured landmark called Wrigley Field. I'm Pat Hughes, radio announcer for the Chicago Cubs. I have been privileged to be here for the last 26 years and call Wrigley Field my office. Thank you for being here today and taking time out of your busy schedules. Everyone gathered here today has played an important role in saving Wrigley Field for the next generation of fans. And today is about applauding those efforts and officially rededicating the ballpark. Before we begin, earlier today, sadly, one of Chicago's finest, Officer Ella French, was laid to rest. We join the Cubs in honoring Officer French and praying for her partner, and recognize all those who are here today from the Chicago Police Department and the Chicago Fire Department, working together with us as they do throughout each and every season to keep all who visit here safe and free to enjoy this beautiful ballpark. Far too many in our city have been impacted by gun violence, and we offer our support in their memory as well. We'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor Officer French for her service and ultimate sacrifice in serving and protecting the people of Chicago. Thank you. Today you will hear from Cubs ownership and leadership, elected officials, the Commissioner of Major League Baseball is here, and more. Now, to begin our program, we would like to welcome Cubs scholar Virginia Garcia Rico to the stage to lead us in the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner for the lands of the free of the brave.
Beautifully done. Beautiful. Virginia Garcia Rico, excellent job. Thank you. Before I introduce our first speaker today, I think I speak for millions of people when I say some of the happiest days of my entire life have taken place right here at the friendly confines of Wrigley Field in Chicago. Ball games, May 6, 1998, the epic Kerry Wood 20-strikeout game. The 1998 wild card tiebreaker when the Cubs beat the Giants. Division clinching victories here in this great ballpark, both in 2003 and 2008. How about the 2015 playoff series when the Cubs vanquished the Cardinals? And the magical 2016 season, the Kyle Hendricks pitching masterpiece against the Dodgers to win the National League pennant, which gave me the sweet opportunity, sure, you can clap for that, which gave me the sweet opportunity to say in Cleveland, the Chicago Cubs win the World Series. I dream of the day when I can say those words right here at Wrigley Field. Besides broadcasting a ton of exciting games, the great times I've had in the Cubs radio booth have been amazing. All the laughter I have shared with people like Ron Santo and Harry Carey and my current partners Ron Coomer and Zach Zaidman, I truly do feel like with the phenomenal fan base, the atmosphere that the fans create inside the ballpark during an exciting game is unequaled anywhere else. I feel really like I'm one of the most fortunate baseball announcers who has ever lived. Now, to give you some perspective on this beautiful building's history and what went into saving it, I want to introduce the man who has led this effort from start to finish. Please welcome the President of Business Operations for the Chicago Cubs, Crane Kenny.
Thank you, Pat. Good afternoon. I join Pat in welcoming everyone for coming today. We're here in the shadow of Wrigley Field for three reasons: to celebrate three important milestones. First, today we will unveil the National Park Service plaque designating Wrigley Field as a National Historic Landmark, a process that's been in the works for almost 10 years and just concluded recently. Second, we will open the Cubs Hall of Fame, another project that's been underway for years and was completed just last week. And finally, we will celebrate the close of the 1060 project, albeit a year late. As many of you know, the 1060 project was a 6-year effort to save Wrigley Field. Due to the pandemic, we postponed the event for a year to allow those who made it happen to join us here today. Wrigley Field has been known by many names over the years. It opened in 1914 as Weigman Park and was renamed Cubs Park in 1920. It's been called a baseball cathedral, a jewel box, and a museum. In 2013, the USA Today newspaper called it America's best ballpark. And in 2017, CNN called Wrigley Field one of the 15 happiest places in the world. And of course, Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, famously called Wrigley Field the friendly confines. For many of us, it's been our place of work. For others, it's a place of worship. But for everyone, lovers of baseball, football, live music, soccer, boxing, hockey, even ski jumping, it is simply one of the most beloved buildings in the world. Today, we are proud to say Wrigley Field will hereafter also be known as a National Historic Landmark. And we are pleased to have Brian Gokin from the National Park Service to help us celebrate the designation. Thank you, Brian. We're also proud to open today the Cubs Hall of Fame. There should never be a doubt as to why Wrigley Field occupies such a special place in the hearts and minds of so many. Over the 106 years of Cubs baseball at Wrigley Field, we've been privileged to watch Hall of Fame players, historic individual and team performances, improbable come-from-behind wins, and most recently, a number of championships. Great players, great characters, great teammates, and great stewards of the game. Many members of the Cubs Hall of Fame are here today, and we are so proud and privileged to say hello to Andre Dawson, Randy Hundley, Fergie Jenkins, Ryne Sandberg, Lee Smith, Rick Sutcliffe, Billy Williams, and the family and friends of Ernie Banks, Harry Carey, and our newest inductee, Margaret Donahue. In total, 56 players, broadcasters, and executives were inducted into the Cubs Hall of Fame and the Cubs Walk of Fame through 1998, when the process to elect new members was suspended by prior ownership. We are proud today to restart the Cubs Hall of Fame and celebrate the current members with a permanent Hall of Fame inside the gates of Wrigley Field. And in the coming years, we look forward to adding new members who played for and contributed to the Cubs. Finally, today, we are celebrating the conclusion of the 1060 project. Nearly 7 years ago, we celebrated the groundbreaking of the project to save Wrigley Field. With then Commissioner Seelig and then Mayor Emanuel in attendance, we launched the unprecedented effort to restore and modernize our beloved ballpark. Today, it's hard to remember how dire the situation was back then. My history with Wrigley Field goes back to the 1980s, when as a fan, we would come to the ballpark and knew about its cramped quarters, the tiny clubhouse, the inadequate restrooms, and limited concessions. In 2003, I started working for the Cubs and became intimately familiar with a more dire situation. That year, power outages halted games as our antiquated electrical infrastructure failed. In 2004, the concrete from the upper deck began falling, and the city's building inspector threatened to shut the ballpark down. Engineering analysis showed that spalling concrete exposed to the elements for decades was breaking loose and threatening our fans sitting below. Then in 2005, we had our first concert at Wrigley Field. Jimmy Buffett came to play, and it yielded more worrisome news. As fans swayed from side to side in the upper deck during a song called Fins, the sway of the superstructure alerted us to steel issues. And again, engineering analysis showed the need for a massive investment in the steel support. And then in 2008, during heavy rains, the field and concourse flooded, leaving our players and fans in water above their shoe tops. Electrical, plumbing, steel, and concrete, the essential elements of the ballpark, had all come to the end of their useful lives. The advice from experts was simple and direct. Tear Wrigley Field down and start over, just as was done with Tiger Stadium, Comiskey Park, and Yankee Stadium. Then in 2009, the Cubs and Wrigley Field were sold to the Ricketts family, and Tom and his family made a courageous decision. They would finance saving Wrigley Field for the next generation of Cub fans. This promise was not only courageous, but unprecedented. At a time when new ballparks like Guaranteed Rate Field and renovated stadia like Soldier Field were financed with public support, Wrigley Field would be ineligible for any such aid. Further, saving Wrigley Field was not the only promise the Ricketts family made. They also promised to win a World Series, and as a result, the financing of the $1 billion renovation could not impair the team's balance sheet, as the team would need significant resources to field a championship team. And so it was in 2014 that the mission to save Wrigley Field took flight. Today, we celebrate the completion of the 1060 project, and my last duty is to thank those who made it happen. To the architects and engineers, Stantec, Populous, Gunny Harbo, Thornton Tomasetti, DAIQ, and Janet Marie Smith, thank you for visioning a new Wrigley Field while also religiously protecting the elements that give Wrigley her essence. To the general contractors and planners, especially Pepper Construction, CAA Icon, McCrosty Historic Advisors, and Jacobson Advisors, you and your people rose to the occasion under the most trying circumstances with a unique project, unforeseen site conditions, and unbundling timelines. Truly heroic work. Thank you. To the tradesmen and women, the masons, the steelworkers, electricians, carpenters, plumbers, concrete workers, glazers, truckers, haulers, arborists, landscapers, cleaners, and every other trade. You battled the elements, politics, budgets, and timelines, especially the unpredictable season-ending timeline and the immovable season-beginning timeline. As so many of you said to me over the 6 years, you wanted to be able to tell your grandchildren you saved Wrigley Field, and you did. And to Jorge Ramirez and Bob Reiter of the Chicago Federation of Labor, and Joe Williams, our consultant with the Target Group, you helped ensure we employed a skilled and diverse workforce that was Chicago-centric and reflective of our entire community. Thank you. To the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago elected officials who helped us when doing so was unpopular, thank you. I should also recognize Alderman Tom Tunney is here in attendance. It wasn't always pretty, Tom, but we got it done. To all of those in the city and state departments who engaged with this project, there are way too many departments and too many individuals to name, but you all made saving Wrigley Field a priority and given our unorthodox work schedule, building only in the Chicago winter for 5 consecutive years, you expedited a lot of our approvals, provided important and timely feedback, moved a mountain of paper, and provided security for our personnel and the project. Thank you very much. To the Commissioner's Office, especially Commissioner Seelig and Commissioner Manfred, your support, especially in the annual creation of our schedule, was incredibly helpful. Thank you. To all the lawyers, bankers, and consultants, especially Kirkland & Ellis, DLA Piper, Wintrust, U.S. Bank, Bank of America, J.P. Morgan, Citibank, Sports Corp, and SCC, you beat back lawsuits that threatened to stop the project before it began. You helped create a unique financing strategy that had never been used on a project of this scale. And you helped inform our development strategies. Thank you. To our great concessions partner, Levy, especially Andy Lansing and Robert Wood, thanks for helping reimagine our food service program. To our legacy partners, Advocate Healthcare, American Airlines, Anheuser-Busch, Gallagher, Horizon Therapeutics, Beam Suntory, Marriott, Sloan, Toyota, and Wintrust. You got on board this train before it was obvious we would win a title and save the ballpark. You believed in our vision and stood by us when times were tough. We are forever in your debt. A special thanks to our limited partners. Your investment in the Cubs represented a significant portion of the funding for the 1060 project and allowed the resources generated by the project to be focused on winning baseball games. We know how much you all care for and respect Wrigley Field. We are fortunate to have such a great group of investors. Thank you very much. And to our neighbors, thank you for your patience and support. Thank you for showing up at community meetings and city hall hearings to campaign for saving Wrigley Field and the creation of your new park, Gallagher Way. You saw through the political rhetoric and made your voices heard. And of course, thank you for pardoning our dust, traffic, and noise. We owe you a huge debt of gratitude and pledge to continue living up to our promise to be a good neighbor. To our fans, thank you for your patience and support throughout the construction. Like our legacy partners, you got on board before it was obvious, and like our neighbors, you campaigned for the permits required to save your ballpark, and you suffered through the construction process during multiple seasons. Thank you for that. Let me also say to our fans, we know our current play on the field is not what you expect or deserve, and we assure you that winning another World Series continues to be our #1 goal. I'd also like to thank you all for the encouragement you've been giving to me and the organization over the past few weeks. It's much appreciated. And finally, to my colleagues and to the Ricketts family. To my colleagues, what can I say? You did it. You took it on. You didn't listen to the critics. You found solutions. You believed in yourselves and the project's vision. To all of you, and especially Carl Rice, who oversaw the construction, thank you. To Tom, Pete, Laura, and Todd, few know the extent of what you did to save Wrigley Field. Thank you for trusting us in our collective vision. Another generation of Cub fans will enjoy games just as their grandmothers and great-grandfathers did because you didn't take the easy path. On behalf of those who will walk through the gates of Wrigley Field for decades to come, thank you very much. Now, in a project that spanned almost a decade and involved thousands of people, I've no doubt missed an organization or individual. So again, to everyone who made this possible, thank you. And now let's take a quick look at the decade of change at Wrigley Field.
We're very excited to say today, Ricketts family is the owner of the Chicago Cubs. We're going to invest in the best personnel, and we're going to hold them to the highest standards of excellence and accountability. We're going to invest in the best facilities in baseball, world-class facilities where every player wants to play and every coach wants to coach. We also know that Chicago Cubs are part of the fabric of the city of Chicago, and we intend to be active in giving back to the city of Chicago and the surrounding areas. We love Wrigley Field, and we're going to do everything we can to improve the Wrigley Field experience for the fans that are coming today and for the future generations of fans to come. We're going to win the World Series by striving to be the best franchise in baseball.
A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it, throw to Rizzo. And the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
Of the goals that we've worked so hard to achieve, this is one I'm extremely, extremely proud of.
We believe that all kids are all-stars and they all deserve the opportunity to succeed.
Thank you, Crane. It is really fascinating to think back on all the ways that Wrigley Field has served Cubs fans and our country. Through world wars and pandemics, Wrigley Field has remained a beacon of joy and hope. To share some perspective on what Wrigley Field means to the city of Chicago, please enjoy this video message from Chicago's Mayor, Lori Lightfoot.
I'm Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and it's my great pleasure to speak here at the Wrigley Field rededication event. As we are all well aware, Wrigley Field isn't just a ballpark. It's a historic landmark and a key center of gravity for our city, our residents, and tourists alike. Few things are more magical than Wrigley Field on a bright sunny afternoon, complete with an electric crowd chanting, "Go Cubs, go," in unison. This incredible stadium has long been known as a place where people from all of our 77 neighborhoods can unite over their love of baseball, the Cubs, and our city's rich sports history. But it wasn't all that long ago when its future was in limbo. More than a decade ago, the Ricketts family faced numerous challenges when taking ownership of the team and this iconic stadium. Despite these challenges, however, the Ricketts family persevered and was able to save Wrigley Field for the next generation of fans to enjoy. So on behalf of a grateful city, I want to thank everyone in the Ricketts family, the Cubs organization, for protecting this majestic landmark. Here's to another 100 years of sun, fun, and flying W's at Wrigley Field. Go Cubs.
Thank you to Mayor Lightfoot. And we're also fortunate to have the governor of our great state of Illinois. Please welcome J.B. Pritzker.
Well, with all due respect to the mayor, now you get to hear from a real Cubs fan. Always a pleasure to hear your voice, Pat, and on such a momentous occasion, it just wouldn't be the same without you. It is a true pleasure to be here with all of you, and especially with the workers and laborers who have spent much of the last 7 years here at Wrigley revamping the ballpark that Chicagoans the world over know and love. And while I wish we could have gotten together last fall at the project's real completion, if there's anything a Cubs fan really understands, it's patience. Thanks to the 1060 Project, and that's everyone from the workers who laid down new bricks to the stakeholders who supported and funded the vision, Wrigley Field's exteriors and amenities now truly reflect its status as one of the gems of Chicago and, frankly, of the entire nation. And with its new designation as a National Historic Landmark, its status as one of the gems of Major League Baseball is truly established for all time. I want to thank the Ricketts family for doubling down on their investment in this neighborhood and designing a renovation plan that both preserves and enhances this historic ballpark that fans like me have known and loved for so many, truly many years. The Cubs are a crucial mover in the economy and the culture of our state, and it's wonderful to see the stadium shine even brighter than ever before, renewing America's pastime for generations to come. Congratulations to all on this auspicious occasion, and go Cubs!
Thank you, Governor. Our next speaker has been instrumental in not only supporting the efforts to restore Wrigley Field, but in renewing the Chicago Cubs' commitment to community. As Cubs Charities Board Chair, Laura Ricketts has been influential in the work the organization does across Chicago's 77 neighborhoods. Using the power of sport to inspire and uplift, the Cubs are consistently Chicago's most philanthropic team. We are honored to welcome Laura Ricketts.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us here today. It's really a great honor to be able to host a celebration like this. It's an acknowledgement of years of investment, of hard work by union tradesmen and women, and of long hours, very long hours, by the front office team members, sweating every detail and planning and construction. But most importantly, this rededication is a recognition that it is the fans who have made Wrigley what it is today. The fans have shown the passion, love, and dedication to this iconic symbol of America's pastime for over 100 years. Today's dedication is for those fans, the fans who love Wrigley and the Cubs through the highs and the lows, through the championship seasons and rebuilding seasons. On our very first day of ownership, we announced that we were dedicated to being good neighbors. Wrigley Field, in addition to being an anchor for this neighborhood and the city, allows us to not only give back to the city, such as when we recently partnered with Lakeview Pantry to convert the friendly confines into a food pantry to help serve the increased needs of our community during COVID, but also to involve Cubs fans in giving back to the broader community, such as our 50-50 raffle, which raises thousands of dollars for Cubs charities at every game. Generous fan support of our efforts is just as important, if not more so, than my family's contributions and the corporate sponsors' dollars that we raise. This generosity helps us support neighborhoods and communities across the city each year. And since 2009, we've contributed more than $40 million to support quality programs, safe places to play across our city, and hundreds of our Chicago nonprofit partners. Thank you. Going forward, we are committed to doing even more, as our long-term vision is to be recognized both locally and globally for our collective work to encourage the love of sport and contribute to a more unified and thriving Chicago, where all youth, families, and communities have equal opportunity to achieve their highest potential both on and off the field. Cubs fans and their support for Cubs charities helps us spread the meaning of Wrigley Field, the love of baseball that binds families and generations of fans. With this rededication today, we thank and honor those fans forever. Thank you so much.
Laura, thank you. The work of Cubs Charities is truly so very powerful. We are incredibly privileged to welcome our next speaker. He has been a true champion of the 1060 Project because he knows just what Wrigley Field means, not only to Cub fans, but to the game of baseball and its multitudes of fans around the world. Here to share some thoughts on the significance of today's rededication is Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here in Chicago and to be a part of the rededication of Wrigley Field and the celebration of its status as a National Historic Landmark. I've always believed that one of the game's greatest assets are our wonderful facilities. Some of them are brand spanking new, like the great facility that opened in Arlington, Texas last year. But equally important are our iconic venues, and Wrigley Field is always at the top of that list. I remember my first visit here to Wrigley Field well. I grew up an American League fan and never had a chance to be here until the All-Star Game in 1990. It made a great impression on me, and I vividly remember Ernie Banks throwing out that ceremonial first pitch. I also know that to lifelong Cub fans, the connection to Wrigley Field is even deeper. It's integral to their fandom. The Ricketts family appreciated the historical and emotional significance of Wrigley Field from the very beginning of their ownership. At the same time, Major League Baseball is a business, and to meet the demands of our business and to be competitive on the field, Wrigley Field needed to be modernized. The 1060 project and the $1 billion in private investment that it entailed modernized and upgraded the fan amenities available here at Wrigley. New video boards, new concessions, restrooms, and equally important, great modern player facilities. And all of this was accomplished while preserving the historic charm of Wrigley Field. Our in-park experience is crucial to the game. It often creates new fans, and it certainly maintains our fans. I want to congratulate the Ricketts family on the project that will preserve Wrigley Field and its great in-park experience for the next generation of fans. Thank you very much.
It's an honor to have you here today, Commissioner. Thank you very much. Now, before we introduce our final speaker, please direct your eyes to the video screens for some footage from earlier today when 2 new plaques were unveiled beneath the iconic Wrigley Field marquee. The first plaque honors Wrigley Field's place as a National Historic Landmark as deemed by the National Park Service and the Department of the Interior. This important designation recognizes historic properties that illustrate the heritage of the United States and serve as an outstanding aspect of American history and culture. The second plaque honors the distinct role Wrigley Field has played in baseball history and acknowledges the significant commitment the Ricketts family undertook in preserving Wrigley Field for generations to come. To unveil these plaques, the Ricketts family was joined by children from the surrounding neighborhood, as well as kids participating in the Cubs Charity's RBI program, an effort focused on reviving baseball in the inner cities. These plaques will forever reflect the profound importance of this majestic ballpark. And now, to share a bit more about what this ballpark means to his family, we are all very honored, and I am especially honored to introduce the Executive Chairman of the Chicago Cubs, Tom Ricketts.
Thanks, Pat. First of all, I want to start by thanking everyone who's here today. We up here on the stage realize it's a little warm, and we appreciate you bearing with us. Secondly, I'd like to give a special thank you to Commissioner Manfred for being here. Commissioner Manfred and the League played a critical role behind the scenes to ensure that our plans to save Wrigley would move from the drawing board to the groundbreaking to today's rededication. So as my sister Laura referenced, when we bought the team in October of 2009, we announced our 3 pillars. Of course, to be a good neighbor, to win the World Series, and to preserve and improve Wrigley Field. With respect to being a good neighbor, as Laura noted, we have dramatically increased our giving with millions of dollars of grants and donations and expanded our in-house programs all over the city, and we've done a lot for Lakeview and frankly, other parts of the city as well. And of course, we accomplished our primary goal of winning the World Series, and as I stand here before you today, I promise we plan to win another, at least one more. But we're here today to mark the achievement of the third goal, which in some ways was the most challenging, and certainly for me, by far the most personal. We're here today to acknowledge the contributions of and to thank all those with us and so many others that couldn't make it today, who worked to assure that Wrigley Field will be here for future generations. Our 3 pillars will stand the test of time, and now Wrigley Field will as well. As you may know, we planned this celebration we planned on celebrating at the end of this massive project last season, but the global pandemic delayed us. In the interim, the final brick was laid last November when Wrigley Field secured its place as a National Historic Landmark. Now, we've all known Wrigley as a special place for millions of Cub fans and has been for generations. It has also been a national treasure for baseball fans around the country. Earning the National Historic Landmark status reflects the sincere and often painstaking work of restoring Wrigley Field to its glory. Over the nearly 9+ decades that preceded our involvement, there were short-term, shortcut decisions made for Wrigley each season. Internal steel was ignored, overhead nets protected fans from chunks of concrete from the upper deck, wrought iron was replaced by chain-link fence and precast concrete. The ballpark was falling apart, underserving our fans and players, and quite frankly, it had become just ugly. As you've heard today, some of the most talented minds in architecture, design, historic preservation, and construction came together to restore Wrigley Field. To all you people, thank you. And I would be remiss if I did not thank Crane Kenny, our President of Business Operations, for his leadership over the entire 1060 project. Without the tireless efforts of him and his team, we would not be here today. In many ways, the story of the long road to saving Wrigley Field mirrors the success we've had on the field. Just as the greatest architects contributed to rebuild this baseball cathedral, we recruited the best baseball architects, Theo, Jed, and their team, to build a consistent contender and a World Series champion. Now Jed and his architects are at it again, making tough decisions and long-term investments to build the next great Cubs team. And when we win our next World Series, we'll be celebrating here at Wrigley Field, our home field, and a national landmark. Thank you.
Thanks to Tom. Tom, it is a testament to your family's commitment to this ball club and its fans that you understood the importance of protecting and preserving Wrigley Field. Baseball fans the world over are grateful. Now, you can go ahead and applaud. Sure, that's right. Before we conclude, I would like to invite all of you to stay and enjoy the unveiling of the new Chicago Cubs Hall of Fame. In the commemorative program you received upon arrival, you can read more about the new Hall of Fame and its inaugural class, many of whom we know are with us here today. These gentlemen in the front row. We congratulate all of you on this honor and are thrilled to have your contributions celebrated in the ballpark for all Cubs fans to enjoy. We will all enter the ballpark now through the Gallagher Way gate behind me, where we will walk along the left field warning track to access tonight's reception in the Budweiser Bleacher Bar. Thank you for coming.